And I think what we're seeing with the January 6th committee is like evidence that the latter view was correct, that creating a spectacle over the January 6th insurrection, which is what these committees hearings are. I mean, I'm sure you guys watched the ones last night where they showed that video of Josh Hawley running away, which is very funny.
Let's play that right now.
Yeah.
Let's just play it because we haven't played it yet, and it is really funny. In fact, there was a clip. I don't know if we have that clip too. There was a clip of like people laughing. I don't know if that was like, it was like,
yes, the gallery, like people who were watching just burst out in laughter.
But here is at
Jug and Josh. That's what it's going to be on the campaign trail.
Here is a clip of Josh Hawley. Remember, Josh Hawley given the solidarity power sign to these folks when they were outside, and then giving the I'm exiting stage.
Prancing away.
right.
Yeah, and that power sign was when he was behind a barricade of cops. So what a tough guy this guy is.
You're my people. Don't hurt me.
Senator Josh Hawley also had to flee. Earlier that afternoon, before the joint session started, he walked across the east front of the Capitol. As you can see in this photo, he raised his fist in solidarity with the protesters already amassing at the security gates. We spoke with a Capitol police officer who was out there at the time. She told us that Senator Hawley's gesture riled up the crowd, and it bothered her greatly because he was doing it in a safe space, protected by the officers and the barriers. Later that day, Senator Hawley fled after those protesters he helped to rile up stormed the Capitol. See for yourself.
There we go. Running away. Run away.
Down some stairs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I just put the
reaction.
The reaction in the gallery. This is pure gold. Check this out. Do we have it?
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is.
Pop it up.
People texting each other.
Oh my God! I mean,
say it again. Just play it again.
Yeah, play it again. Go ahead.
You want to run for president? You like to run. We all know you like to run. Jog and Josh.
So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that catches people's attention, and it filters down to the public. And I think it's helping build an image of the entire Republican Party, or at least everyone aligned with Trump, that's really negative for the party. And I think that is probably affecting its approval ratings, because the divergence between Biden's approval and sort of the Democratic performance from the generic ballot is unprecedented. We haven't really seen this before. And I think it's what it signals is that while Biden might be very unpopular, so is the Republican Party. And given the choice, at least at this point, voters would rather have Democrats in office than they would Republicans because of the unpopularity of the Republican Party.
You know, it's interesting because I mean, look, this is happening from May to July, and folks who are over age 65 would be much more likely to have been aware of a pre-Roe world.
Right.
And they would have been much more impacted by they're 15 years old at a minimum when Roe is overturned. I mean, or I should say is established. And so they could be far more sensitive to this. But what strikes me interesting about to the extent that it's from January 6th is that one of the other, you mentioned there were two sort of strategies, right, by the Democrats. Do you make a spectacle out of Trump? Do you or do you do let's do this huge bill where we're going to vote in the House on 45 different proposals that people really each chair of each committee can tout to their own people. But there's also like a sort of a subcategory of the Trump one is, do you like bind the Republican Party to Donald Trump.
Right.
And that, I think there was a huge failure to do that by the Democrats starting in the summer of 2016. I mean, Chuck Schumer was bragging about having, I think the exact quote was something like, I've got Schumer, because he refers to himself in the third party for whatever third person, Schumer, Ryan, and Clinton, and we're going to do the tax repatriation deal. I mean, going way back here. But they wanted to protect, I think, Ryan and McConnell and allowed, Trump to sort of pass through. And there was never that conjoining people. But the interesting thing that happened with January 6th is no Republicans end up on the committee, except for Kinzinger and who have been and Cheney, who have been ostracized there in the leper colony of the Republican Party. And so it's had this effect in a multiple ways, both in the operation of the committee and on the politics. What's your sense of that in terms of like, it's one thing to say like, I no longer like Donald Trump, but it's another to say like, I don't like the Republicans as a function of these hearings.
Right. I mean, I think even if this wasn't necessarily the intent, connecting the insurrection to a wide range of figures within the Republican Party, the fact that Republicans aren't on the committee and were even opposed to it, I think all those things do in themselves create this connection. Democrats are very afraid of appearing too partisan, but I think that this sort of partisan spectacle is actually very effective. And it's very effective because it breaks through it breaks through all the noise of everyday life in American politics. It makes people pay attention. Most people have, if they have no interest in politics, they have too many things going on to bother paying off that much attention. And so to grab them, you need to do something that is dramatic. And this is dramatic. I think voters are kind of naturally making the connection between January 6th committee and Republican Party. I think Democrats could do more to say, if you don't want these people, right? Like Jim Jordan and Kevin McCarthy, if Republicans win the majority, will be top leaders in the House of Representatives. If you don't want these Trump pro-insurrection acolytes to be, hold that kind of power, you have to vote for Democrats. And just to kind of say that again and again and again and do things that capture people's attention, even if they're very partisan, even if they're going to engender a little backlash from like the mainstream press, like who cares, right? Well, like I think just yeah, real quick, I'm always loath to give Trump credit for anything, but one thing I will give Trump credit for is a recognition of this dynamic in American politics, that what matters most is making the splash. And then after that, once you have the attention, that is the important thing.
Yeah, 100%. And their message is undercut by Nancy Pelosi going out every second and saying, well, we need a strong Republican Party, right? And Biden saying this is not the real Republicans. But even with that messaging being so convoluted, the committee's findings are so powerful and frankly well put together that it overrides it. And the fact that MSNBC and CNN are wall-to-wall covering this, and it was on ABC News last night, and I think it was on CBS, wherever you look, it's just a taste of what Republicans have been doing for decades with Fox News, which is just blitzing the media with their narrative. And you see the effects of that in the polling, as Sam pointed out. It moves things when you are unabashed in your message on a particular issue set. And you're actually doing politics. Right.
My preference would be for Democrats to have, during the Trump years, to have had like a standing committee on Trump corruption that is just like constantly holding public hearings. But since we're already past that, to at least not wrap this thing up, to just like keep it going as long as possible, sort of like, keep investigating. Because here's the other thing. I think Democrats have this like weirdly mechanistic vision of what politics is, or at least like some congressional Democrats, which is that like, there's the economy and, when it's up, people like us, when it's down, people don't like us. If we investigate something and there isn't like an immediate effect, then it's not really worth doing, because like if it was, then we go up and so on and so forth.